Hey everybody, Mac here along with Cheryl, Judy, Tim, and Dolphin, and we'd like to welcome you all to the 2026 Winter Wellness Season in the Time of the Water Element. You know, um, 2026 is actually a 1 year for any of us that are into numerology. And what that really translates to, it's a year of new beginnings, forward movement, leadership, innovation, courage, and independence. It's the reset energy, if you will, after the closing, clearing, and releasing of all that happened in 2025, which was a universal 9 year. So we can kind of think of 2026 as the seed is planted, the soil's turned, and the direction for the next 9 years is set. Now, being in the month of January, this is also a time of transition. You'll all remember that February last year, in the Chinese zodiac system, we started the year of the wooden snake. So, this month of January is where the wooden snake enters its last winter water season. So, it's a time to really shed what is no longer serving us and to be prepared for the momentum and the movement forward of the upcoming year of the fire horse, which we'll be talking to you about in a lot of detail this next month. So, one of the things we might ask ourselves is, where have I been holding myself back? And, as we look at this transition, this is a time where energy turns inward. So, again, we can encourage people that slowing down is very important instead of resisting the natural contractions of the winter season. It's important to strengthen our kidneys, everything from early nights and more rest to warm foods and drinks, gentle movement instead of spontaneous or strenuous output, and avoiding overwork and chronic stress. Now, that one's probably easier said than done, but that's one of the things we need to focus on. As I mentioned a second ago, we should consider warming and nourishing foods. Black sesame, black beans, seaweed, plant-based broths, root vegetables, winter squashes, miso, fermented foods, warming spices, and any kind of warming teas, a la cinnamon cali and fortune light. Anybody? Lastly, this is also a time where emotions come into play, where the grief of metal is transitioning into the stillness of water. So it's a great time to kind of let the last emotional residues of autumn settle down. Love this one. The idea of reframing our fear as awareness and wisdom. And we're going to talk a little bit about fear a little bit later in the call. And encouraging quiet practices of journaling, light martial arts, Qigong, slow grounding walks, breath work, which we've talked about many times in the past, and meditation. So, with that said, I just want to remind everybody that we are going to be talking, as we always do, about the Sunrider foods. So, none of the information provided in this presentation is intended to represent a diagnosis or cure of any illness or disease. Now, just to change it up a little bit, Cheryl, this is going to be your slide today. So, maybe you could walk us through why someone should consider Sunrider.
Thank you, Mac. I love talking about this because I love Sunrider. It is a company like no other. We've been around for 44 years, creating the most excellent products. We have our country, 50 countries that we're in. Some of them we have our own manufacturing, we have our own offices. It's amazing. We can do our business in any of these countries around the world. And one of the most important things to me about our company is that we do everything from all the research and development internally to the manufacturing, and it's all controlled by the owners of the company who are experts in these fields. And the other thing is, we have over 400 products. So for me, it's like I just shop at my own store and I have so many great benefits. And these 38 years in Sunrider, I am, in my own mind, a proven walking example of the amazing products that we have in Sunrider. Now, why is this so special? Is because we have a philosophy. If anybody out there, any other company that creates their products and their business based on the philosophy, and this is the philosophy of regeneration. And this philosophy reflects the core concepts of Dr. Chen, the creator of Sunrider. And basically, Sunrider products are based on a powerful idea, the benefit that blends traditional Chinese medicine and advanced Western science. And this is the philosophy of regeneration. And it's four guiding principles. And number one, we need to nourish and cleanse to keep our body back in balance. And we have to do that with whole foods, not chemicals. So number two, throw away all those isolates you're eating. They just don't work. You want to put food into your body because the body recognizes it. And number three, not one ingredient or one product can keep you healthy. It's always a variety and a combination. And with the expertise of our founders and owners of Sunrider, they know how to combine our products. And that's one of my favorite things about Sunrider is that our owners actually run the company, create the products. We have doctors, pharmacists, organic chemists. We have the best team of all, and they're legacy thinkers. So they're not thinking, oh, we're going to build this up and sell it out. They're thinking, we're passing it on to the next generation and the next generation. And right now, we have the second generation that are running our company with the supervision of the doctor's chair. And that makes me happy because I want to be able to pass this on to the next generations as well. So for me, I love Sunrider. Thank you, Matt.
Judy?
Well, okay, here we go. Our big wheel of our five elements keeps on turning, and here we find ourselves in the throes of winter. And that means different things to different members, not only on this call, but the locale of where you live, to the how extreme it is. However, winter is something we always need to address, as we do every season, and this even carries real special importance because water is the element and it's the fluid of life. It governs the circulation of blood, which brings heat and nourishment to our vital organs. It also affects the lymphatic system. So we know the lymph is the remover of waste and impurities, but also helps us to fight infection and foreign matters. And we want water to flow, not to rage, not to seep, not to drip. And so what it affects is also urine, saliva, perspiration, tears, and sexual function. So, of course, that helps us to realize the main organs affected, as Mac has already mentioned, are kidneys and then the bladder. Those are the obvious areas, but it also has other aspects and other organs that it affects. The colors are black and blue, and no one wants to see blue lips on their baby or on anyone of any age. And I always think of black and blue immediately of bruising. And if you've ever had a bad bruise, it kind of is blue at first, but as the blood stagnates and remains there, it kind of goes through darker colors, maybe a deeper purple and maybe even black. So black sometimes is associated with stagnancy. It's associated with something even more serious, the big C word at times, as on an x-ray you see black spots. So again, think of stagnation, lack of circulation, and a pooling, which again brings us back to the thought of water. And so another aspect of that is in Chinese medicine, there's always an outward organ and inward. And interesting enough, it is the ears with the kidneys, and the ears are the shape of a kidney. I hadn't noticed that myself, but as I was reading up on this, it was pointed out. And but of course, circulation would affect our hearing. We want nutrients and all to the ear, and the vibration, and water carries electricity. So ears operate on vibration and the little hairs inside. But an imbalance, maybe the lymph isn't getting there. So we have earaches, particularly in young children, or if we swim a lot, that might be a problem. So that's interesting. Um, and tinnitus or tinnitus, however you pronounce it, is certainly on the rise. There's many people that I have heard really can suffer greatly, but we may just notice crickets or some other peculiar noise that we can't really attribute it to at times. So that's an indication we need to maybe address the water element. So what we want is to create balance and flow, and we want to do things that assist us. And so part of what also helps us is our intake, obviously. And so first of all, our intake of water, we don't want it to be too much because the element is salt is a taste. We know too much salt creates problem in our kidneys, problem with retention, and but again, as already mentioned, we don't want to have too much outgo either. So again, balance. And also another element in this not is keeping it right. So almost everyone's aware they should drink water today. In fact, people drink it all the time. But some people's concern is they feel like it's a pipe. They're pouring water down a pipe because two quick tips that I think have been repeated often, but I think it still deserves repeating, is that you can only absorb 4 ounces every 20 minutes. So don't make up for your water intake all at once by drinking that quart, you're short. So it's not about putting in the quart. And also, it has to do with the electrolytic balance because it's just as we are what we eat, but better said, we are what we assimilate. Same is true of water. It's not always about volume, but what we absorb. And so that has to do with minerals, the electrical charge. So we always want to be in balance, and we do want to give attention to also, because our foods matter and their water content, that counts. And then Finn's going to also help us with a very important aspect, and that's the change in the food pyramid. Can you help us with that, Finn?
I sure can. Thanks, Judy. So, yeah, I know in the US, you just recently had a change in your food pyramid. We in Canada had our change a few years ago, and I was kind of comparing them, and they're really starting to look quite similar. And what's very encouraging is the focus on whole food and really encouraging people to stay away from processed foods and more focus on alkaline foods. So the majority of our plate, we want to have at least 60% on that plate of being alkaline, which is our fruits and vegetables. And then, 20 and 20% protein, nice either plant protein or lean proteins, and then our whole grains. So this is definitely a flip from what it used to be, is focusing so much on carbohydrate and no real focus on the dangers of eating processed foods. I also really like, and there was a lot of focus on the Canadian site, it encourages people to drink more water, which is great, having increased daily intake. And on the US side, I thought it was very interesting is that they really encourage to stay away from sugar. And so on the US site, it said no more than 10 grams per meal of added sugar. And I just wanted to, it was like, okay, well, how much is that? So I looked up how much is in a glass, 8 ounces of orange juice, and there's 21 grams in a glass of orange juice. And in a can of Coke, like a 12 ounce, there's 39 grams of sugar in a can of Coke. So that gives us some perspective on how much added sugar is in a lot of these, in most processed foods. Like you can't get away from sugar in anything that's processed. And also in the US site, they had stricter sugar limits saying that children 10 years and younger should have zero added sugar, which I think is really important as we've seen over the years this rise in especially childhood obesity, which is just heartbreaking. So really focusing on again, that whole foods, cooking. They're encouraging people cook more often rather than eating out. I also loved on the Canadian site, and Tim, you'll appreciate this, mindful eating habits. And Tim is like Mr. Chew your food, right? Chew your food to sauce. So really being mindful as you're eating. And things like eating with others, making it more social versus, and just like, I like the focus of not just being, eat 10 to 12 servings of this, but really encouraging people of thinking about their food habits. So that was really encouraging. And one particular food group or nutrient that is difficult to get in our food, and we're not gonna focus on it so much on today's call, but we are gonna do a deep dive, is that vitamin D3, because we get the majority of that from the sun. And if we live, those of us that live in the northern hemisphere, then we know that that sunshine is really limited for just the amount of daylight that we get during the day, and also just where it sits on the horizon. So, and then we're all bundled, for those of us that are in the colder climates, we're bundled up. So, how do we get our D3? And you can get it from some rich fatty sources like fat. Fatty fish, vitamin E, things like that. But the best source is the sunshine. And so this is where we need to supplement. And Sunrider absolutely has one of the best D3s on the market. And we will do a deep dive on that in our next call. So, Mac, did you have anything to add on this slide?
Thanks, Finn, and I'm looking forward to that conversation next month about vitamin D3, where we can get into more depth on that. So thank you for setting that up. And just quickly, with this new pyramid here in the US in particular, it's interesting. And I look back, and I don't have much to share on this, but when you look at the biggest differences, the old pyramid kind of asks, how much should I eat? And the new pyramid asks, how whole, how natural, and how nutrient dense is my food? And I just love the fact that you've kind of referenced already, the new pyramid emphasizes quality, vitality, and digestion, alignings, strengthening of our chi, and supporting all five elements, which we talk about each and every month. So thank you, Senator Kennedy. And yeah, we'll move on from there. And Finn, you and Tim can talk to us a little bit about the emotions of the season and fear in particular.
Yeah, so Tim and I had a great conversation yesterday, and you know, it's not it's not something we get away from personally, or with our clients. And Tim, uh, when I asked you yesterday, when sometimes we just get caught up in our thoughts and fear, and we know that fear isn't real. We know it's almost always, you know. It's not something substantial. It's just all in our mind. But, I was asking you, like, how can we get past, sometimes that being on that hamster wheel of feeling anxious and fearful?
A little bit of an answer coming at you. That's a perfect intro to this. Yeah, we all have some fear, and I definitely go through my own bouts. But it's about what you do with it. And first of all, it's kind of like, what is fear? I'll just, and this isn't maybe the exact definition, but it's a nice definition to what it does to us. Okay, so that's how I'm going to put it that way. So like thinking of it as a sacred messenger. When I think about it, if it's a divine messenger trying to warn me of something, then I'm going to pay attention, okay? And it's obviously because of something I'm thinking, and my body's giving me a response, So what do I do with it? The first step really is just recognizing that I have fear and that I'm feeling dysregulated. And so once we're aware of that, we can do something about it. We can go into the toolbox, and we all have a toolbox. I like to think of every single person on the planet having it perennially within them. And so all we have to do is access it. It's already there. So, and once you remember, you kind of go, oh, geez, I can't remember something about this. Would you like me to, go further?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
So let's say you have a friend. We talked about this too. Let's say you have a friend who's just going through, going through the mill, and we all kind of sometimes may get addicted to our fear, that because we just don't see any way out of it. So, and there's a certain comfort that comes with fear also, because um, because we might not know better, and we just don't want it to get any worse than it already might be, whatever's causing that fear. So one of the things, if you have a friend and that friend's pouring their heart out to you, yeah, I hear you, I hear you. So, but and this is something that we all do to some degree, is being aware that I'm afraid, I've got fear in me, and it's B is recognizing that I'm putting myself in a state of dysregulation by responding, by thinking about it, whatever the issue might be, how I'm thinking about it, something in the future, something I'm upset about in the past and wish I could have changed it. But how am I thinking about it right now? One of the nicest things that helps is just to sit and be still for a little while. And so what I will say to this friend, hey, if you're interested, before I start spewing off answers and trying to be the guy and fixing things all the time, is hey, I really feel what you're going through, and I've been there, but there's some steps that I've been able to take that has helped me overcome some of that. Would you be open to some suggestions and I could walk you through it right now, and we can maybe do something about it and change your state. And it's all about our state, and fear is just a state, and it's just a state to be listened to, no different than that red flashing light on your dashboard. I got to pay attention to it. Don't just keep driving while your engine blows up. So we get it in feelings. It's just a little bit, the dashboard's in our consciousness, and once you're aware, I've got some fear, we can do something about it. So first of all, sit and be still. Just sit and be still. I mean, if you're at the office and you can't, and you got to get going, but it's okay to take a minute. It's better to be regulated a little bit than be completely dysregulated and maybe make a big error in the project you have coming up. So embrace the feeling. I'm going to embrace the fear. It's a messenger. I'm going to embrace it. It might have a divine origin, and if I interpret it that way, then I'll pay attention to it. And so first of all, I'll start thanking it. Thank you for showing me where I'm maybe forgetting the limitless nature of who I am. Just stay in thank you like a mantra. Thank you. Just stay with it. We got 1 minute, okay? And in that time, you can also add some slow down your breath. Recognize where your breath is. And so what I will do with somebody is I'll do it together with them. It's nice. Let's just slow down. And what we're doing is the first symptom that usually happens is our heart rate will go down. And this will happen within 30 seconds. And what I like to think about, as soon as we put one thought of gratitude in our mind, and we don't even to have a specific idea of what we're grateful for, just that I'm grateful period. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have this life. Let's go general a little bit, and then we can go further than that. And what it tends to start happening is when we calm everything down, it starts giving us space for the solutions to start pouring out of our subconscious. And they start coming when we're kind of paralyzed in fear. There's no solutions that will come. We're just stuck there, and we can't really break free from it. So with that friend, it's like, hey, and then usually what'll happen is we go through it a little bit. Even in 1 minute, we can change their state. And it may not be 100%. You haven't saved the world or directly solved the problem at hand. But you've been able to create a state where you can begin solving that problem. And again, you've lowered your heart rate. And what's a really cool thing, just like the act of smiling or one thank you, immediately, and science has got all kinds of backing for this, we immediately start to release serotonin, dopamine, even oxytocin. If we take a moment in that still space to stay in a nice, I love going to something I'm really grateful for. It can even get me teary just thinking about it, and that's good because it's all of a sudden everything's turned on. You've got the endocrine system and the hormonal activity that you want to start turning those systems on, turning your production of killer T cells. When we're in a state of fear, we're in a state of distress and dis-ease, And when we're in a state of dis-ease, there's a lack of ease. So we just want to start producing some ease. And as long as I know I just need some ease, I don't need an encyclopedia to figure out what my issue is. Thank you. Thank you begins to create ease. We want to start releasing the good neurochemicals right away. Stay with that breath for a little while. It might take 3, 1, 2, 3, 10, 100 thank yous, but I can do 100 thank yous easily in less than 5 minutes. So I kind of like 30 seconds to 5 minutes is my little window. If I only got 1 minute, 30 seconds, it's going to be. But at least I can address whatever's going on. And with that friend, it's like, how do you feel now? How do you feel now? And usually I'd say 9 times out of 10, they're coping better. At the very least, they're coping better. But all of a sudden they thought, while I was doing that, I had this idea just pop into my head about what I can do to take care of this thing over here that's been bugging me, and I'm losing sleep over it. Anyway, so that's one way that I like to address fear, and that we address fear too. What do you think, Finn?
Oh my gosh, so good, Tim. Absolutely.
Don't get me started. It's hard.
I know we went off on a tangent last night. It was awesome. But I just want to pinpoint what, like, changing the state by creating some space. And the thoughts are like clouds, right? Our thoughts are not the sky. Our beingness is the sky, but the thoughts that enter are just the clouds. So how do we disperse the clouds? Just what you said, like slowing down the heart rate, breathing, changing our attention to our gratitude to release the serotonin, and then the blue sky, our true state, can then find its way back to our consciousness, where then better solutions come to mind. We're just feeling more at ease.
Instant
And
transformation. Like, you're transforming it right there. You're taking that fear, that gift, my friend, fear. And just as an addendum, I hear what you're exactly saying, but you're transforming fear into love, and then producing with love, and actually letting fear help you to the point where you actually need to thank that fear for showing you the way.
ah,
I agree with you 100%.
totally.
Thank you, fear. Like, what a thing. Instead of, I gotta run from this fear. Nah.
And that's so true. We can even then get caught up in the hamster wheel of, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this, or, and then judging how that we're all in fear, rather than, like you say, just seeing it as a messenger and treating it as a tool. So and then that again affects our physiology, and then it just keeps it coming back and forth. So, supporting our physiology through nutrition, right, and the whole foods, then also helps us alleviate those um, emotions, the anxiety and the fear as well. So, Sunrider is just such a beautiful tool to nourish our body, because it's the physiology and the psychology. Like, you can't separate the two. And so I'm so happy that there's more focus on eating alkaline, whole food to support our body, where then we can have better mental and emotional body as well. And we're going to talk a bit about some of our favorite foods now, right, Mac?
Yes, we are. And I think this turns it back over to Miss Cheryl.
It sure does. And I get to talk about one of the formulas that's in our fabulous quinary, and that's our Conco. And Conco helps our respiratory system, and it helps it get back in balance with the metal element herbs that support our overall health. And I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this one right, but one of them is Chong Guang root. It promotes healthy circulation, while golden bell fruit and bamboo leaf support healthy respiratory, digestion, and circulation. And the beauty with our products is they're so concentrated. So one capsule is like 10 pounds to one in a bottle of Conco. And so one capsule is totally powerful. So I love Conco. I do extra Conco during the winter season, because I know it gives my respiratory system that extra help to be around all the things that happen in wintertime. So, and then I'm going to pass it over to Judy, who's going to talk about Livestream.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I'm so glad that you brought up Conco as being a part, because it also, live stream supports the Conco, because again, we're talking about the fluid of the mucus, the phlegm, and that aspect in the body, which is necessary, but certainly the fluidity is affected by our circulation and about having the water element fed. And so live stream is also, of course, in the quinary. And we certainly want to always have quinary on a daily basis to feed all the horses, children, cats, dogs, and humans, because we all want to keep all those five systems always in balance. I think I failed to mention that circulation is a big factor in our hair, specifically the hair on our head. And an age-old remedy in the old days was stand on your head if you're having trouble with your with hair loss. And so certainly that doesn't go out of style. However, we can add live stream, because live stream is so important to getting the nutrients, as was mentioned, up to the, especially the extremities. And it's so appropriately named life stream, because circulation, the blood to the heart, getting the oxygen, all of these are life saving. And why many people have come to realize that life is in the blood, but it's got to get there. And so live stream is also helpful in eyesight. And again, even though the ear is the outward organ, we certainly have to get nourishment to the eyes. And I've seen personally and with others, it's very helpful in not only degenerative diseases of the eye, but just improving vision. In fact, I have to schedule when I'm going to get a driver's license, or I always look at what is a eye chart involved. And if it is, man, I have to allow about, used to be 1 week, now it's about 2 weeks. And I up my intake to 10 a day, at least. And I can see the chart much better. Also, in the past, I remember I had someone whose circulation was impaired to the point of extreme high blood pressure, and she couldn't get insurance. And Dr. Chin recommended 30 a day in that case, because she had a genetic defect from the little tubule that goes from the kidney to the bladder, which made the pressure, just like when you squeeze a hose, it made her blood pressure so high. So I have found, if you're working on a specific area and trying to get more circulation there, definitely up it. It's fabulous opening the capsules. It's a delicious tea. You can add it, a nice after dinner drink. Most results are pushed more towards the late afternoon, evening hours. But if you are trying not to drink a lot, too close to bed or after 7, then have it a little earlier. Who knows? Maybe the Brits had something going for them when they said, had their high tea and their afternoon tea. So definitely incorporate it. And this is the time to increase it in addition to your quinary. And everyone knows the value of Kali, but remind us, Tim and Finn, of the attributes of Kali for us.
Ladies first, please.
Oh no, Timsky, this is you.
Well,
I always learn so much about Cali from you.
Oh, cheers. Well, in addition to having that respiratory going on and the circulatory going on, which we need, as Judy was mentioning, to deliver that oxygen and nutrients to all the cells in our body. Our Kali helps nourish the kidney to do its job, which is filtering the blood of all that toxicity that happens through all the cell firing in our systems. And I could tell a dozen or more Kali stories, but it's just a wonderful way to start my day. I mean, it's not the first drink I put in my body. I usually drink at least almost 750 ml of water. Not quite a liter, but I know it's a little bit overkill, but that's how I start everything going up. And then this Kali is the first drink that goes into my body every day. And I just love how awake and alive I feel so naturally. It's like somebody scratching your back to wake you up instead of kicking you in the rump to get you started. And You feel your body gently opening up. It's like a sunrise coming over the horizon inside your heart, and that's what Cali means to me, and that's what I'm so grateful for it. It'd probably be, other than New Plessis beef, if I was stuck on a desert island and I had no other thing, a Sunrider, Cali would probably be one of the things, one of the first, or the only thing that I'd probably rely on.
Mm. You're such a
Anything,
poet.
any addendums, then?
You're such a poet. I love it. Yeah, yeah, just that it's gentle enough to give to children and babies, and yet it's powerful enough to remove heavy metals and toxins
Oh,
in a way out of our body that, like you say, it doesn't kick us. It just gently supports our body to cleanse and to eliminate what no longer serves us in the cells. So yeah, I think we all love Cali a lot.
Cool. Thanks you guys for that. I love the product review and how it all ties into what we've been talking about today. And, one of the things we kind of chatted about before, of maybe a fun way to kind of close this call down, was for each of us maybe to share what our favorite winter beverages are. And Judy, why don't you start us off? Do you have a favorite winter beverage?
Well, this year I have to say, I normally I kind of dread winter. This year I decided to focus on what I love. And the main thing I love about winter is the layering of clothes and cozy, warm blankets. And nothing is cozier than a hot beverage or very warm. And I seem to be obsessed with lemon. And so naturally, mine is lemon fortune delight. And how wonderful that it is one of the foods that we should be having more of during the winter. And so I love a warm cup of lemon fortune delight. And here's kind of a tip. I found that, electrolytes are not just for athletes. We can focus on more the permeability of the cell walls, trying to get absorbed more. And I find I like the Electrosport warm, more of a citrusy flavor within it. In fact, I think I might even enjoy it more than I do in cooler drinks. And so that's a hot tip for good electrolytes. And one other quick one is that I learned this on Dr. Oz, but it wasn't from him. And I don't always agree with Dr. Oz, but I have learned some interesting things on occasion from that show. But he had an expert on, and they mentioned putting your lemons. And so if we're also adding, I like to add fresh lemons sometimes. And if you'll use your skins and pour hot water over them and keep them, and then you can even take them, with you to a restaurant. And there's such a prevalence of the acid reflux, going by different terminology, and medication for that should never be taken only in emergencies, and not more than a week or two, which many have been on for years. But if you actually chew the rinds of a lemon, that will help that. Now, that's not one of the things I suffer from, but I have added it occasionally after a bigger meal. And so anyway, I just thought I'd pass that tip along. So I also add coconut milk. Some people call that dirty tea. I call it delicious. Or sometimes I'll put just a teaspoon of vanilla, protein plus, or whatever I think goes with my lemon at the moment. But I love that. I use protein plus often as a creamer. And I think, my goodness, I hope you'll try it.
Great, Judy. Cheryl, how about you?
That is really good. I got some good tips there, Judy. Thank you. Well, I'm a hot beverage person all the time, but especially in winter because it keeps me so cozy. So I'm creating hot beverages all the time. But one of my very favorites is I steep our Cali cinnamon. I add our Fortune cinnamon, a squirt of sun nectar, and then I add the vanilla oat milk. And it's like this creamy, warm, delicious, and it's almost like a little dessert too, so it keeps me away from the sweets. And I drink it all day long. That's what I've got in my cup right now. And sometimes I dress it up now because we have the Intellerize. I put a little bit of that in, but I play around with it, and it is so good for the digestive system and just gives me a nice warm hug. So I'm not sure, but I think Finn and Tim
Yeah,
are.
how about Tim next?
Finn and Tim. Okay.
Okay. Well, what do we, there's so many things, but I'm just going to kind of go with, the creation of a hot evening. Let's say if there's been a fire outside and we were roasting something yummy and on a stick, of course. And then you have to have your drink to go along with that. And mine is I love to take just a nice Cali. I've been really fond of Cali Mint these days, and so I'll throw in some 85% cacao, uh, like grate it right from the chocolate, and definitely load it up with our favorite alternative sweetener, and then top it off with maybe just a little bit, like Judy said, maybe a little coconut milk, or I like using rice milk. And it's just a yummy, wonderful flavor. I mean, you could use the cinnamon cali too. That would be really good. But I mean, I use about 28, 1 to 2 ounces. I mean, I could make it a lot of dark chocolate. I also want the brain benefit that comes with that. But beyond all that good stuff is yummy. It's making my mouth water right now while I'm describing it. So give that a go. Finn,
Perfect.
what do you got?
Oh my gosh, you guys are so fancy. I love it. It's like, I'm coming over to your house. I feel so boring with what I'm going. But yeah, I have to end my evening, whether it's summer or winter, with a hot beverage, especially in the winter time. And my go-to is regular Fortune with a healthy squirt of sun care. And I like the big packages of the Fortune because then I can do like as much as I want. And then honestly, a couple of capsules of AD, and it has such a gingery flavor to it. It's like kind of like drinking ginger tea, and there's just something really grounding and soothing and satisfying of that in the evening because I as well, Cheryl, have that sweet tooth in the evening. So it helps me just feel really grounded and not necessarily wanting to reach for a lot of sugary things. So yeah, I'd have to say, but man, I'm coming over to your guys' house. Yours, that
Get
just sounds
over.
really yummy.
Anytime.
Hey, you guys, I loved all of those additions. And Judy's, yours was great. Cheryl was great. Finn, the idea of the AD and the ginger, which ginger is one of those herbs that really helps us this particular time of year. But Tim, I got to hand it to you, man, with the chocolate. Okay, that just wins all the way around in my
Healthy
book.
chocolate. It's healthy chocolate.
I gotcha. For me, I'm feel the same way as you did, Finn. Mine's awfully boring by comparison, but the idea of just simply combining cinnamon and mint cali together for me has just been a go-to. As Judy, we suffer through this tremendous winter here in Arizona, all of that. But it is interesting, mint, of course, opens the lung qi and helps the kidneys more effectively support the chi. It opens our sensory orifices in terms of the clarity and awareness without forcing energy upwards. And cinnamon, I mean, cinnamon is, one of the most supportive herbs of the season for sure, especially when it comes to protecting our kidneys and staying warm in the interior and anchoring our vitality. And again, it does support cinnamon, that is circulation and long-term vitality. It strengthens our kidney chi. It kind of reignites purpose and courage, and it grounds the spirit without agitation. So, you might think of them as mint kind of clears the surface and cinnamon warms the source. So, anyway, that's why I love my Cali cinnamon mint mix. And, just to kind of close things down, you guys, what's coming up next for us? It is going to be in February, the year of the fire horse. So, we're going to be speaking with you a lot about that. We're also, as Finn mentioned earlier, going to talk a little bit about our mental health, our self-care, and the importance of vitamin D3 this time of year in the winter season. So those will be things we'll be focusing on. And from the Sunrider perspective, I mean, February this next month there is February 22nd is Sunrider Global Day around the Sunrider world. So whatever country you're in, tune into what's happening with Sunrider there. A couple of things that just came up for me. My anniversary date in Sunrider as an IBO is March 1st. And so it reminded me, and I want to remind all of you that Sunrider, for all of us independent business owners, IBOs, and preferred customers, including our PC3s, there is an annual purchase requirement. For IBOs, it's 400 QV annually. And for our PCs and PC3s, it's 200 QV annually. So just want to remind you all, you can find your anniversary date if you don't know it by looking on the website. You can see how much QV you've accumulated towards the requirement. Would encourage you all to take a look at that. Make sure you don't miss your anniversary date. And there has been a rumor, at least in North America, that there may be a price increase on March 1st. So as we get more details on that, or we know specifics, we'll be sure to share that with you this next month. And lastly, registration. I don't think the link is available yet, but the website has been released. Registration should be happening anytime soon. Qualifications have been released here in North America. The Sunrider Convention 2026 Limitless is going to be in San Diego, California between June 10th and the 13th at the beautiful Lowe's Coronado Bay Resort, which truly is a great place. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I know that as many of us are going to try to get there as we possibly can, but really, folks, if there's any possibility to get to San Diego in June, please come join us for what's going to be a fabulous convention this year. But again, more of that as we continue to carry along here in the year. And I guess with that, ladies, gentlemen, time to shut this call down. And thank you, Judy, Cheryl, Finn, Tim, as always, for sharing. Thank you to our audience for tuning in to us. And I guess with that, see you, everybody, and we'll talk to you again in February.
Great. Bye.